All right. Hello and welcome everyone. We're super excited to be here. My name is Casey Burke. I'm a PM on the Power Apps Scale team. And with me I have Marcel, who's on the Power Apps Studio team, and a couple special guests speaking with us today. We have Grant Archibald and Prabhat Pandey from our engineering team. We have an exciting session lined up for you today, and I wanted to start with the question that we sometimes hear from the developer community. Is Power Platform really for professional developers? You might have heard things like it's a toy, or it's for citizen developers, or any number of things. Well, today we wanted to show you a little bit different side of Power Platform. So yes, we do have a big citizen developer community, but we also have a really large and growing professional developer community. And so let's go ahead and dig in and show you that Power Platform is really about helping you build apps faster and your agents, and you can do so on a fully managed platform so that developers can care about what they want to focus on most, and that's the creative aspects. So whether you're building no code, low code, pro code, Copilot is going to be there to help you along the way. So just a quick agenda and fair warning to everyone in the audience here that today we are going to not show very many slides. It's going to be mostly live demos. So Marcel's going to kick us off with Fusion development. Grant is going to come back on, talk about automated testing. And then Prabhat and I are going to show you how to build and deploy those assets. And then Marcel will come back on, and he's got some exciting stuff at the end. I will save the surprise. Marcel, over to you.
All right, thank you, Casey. Good day, developers. Very happy to be here. I will start with a spoiler, I think. You can see in your screen, this is the feature that we announced. Let me sure it's going through. Yes, it's going through. So that's the feature we announced, the capability of you writing your own code, bring to Power Platform, and run with our managed platform. So this is to debunk the myth that Power Platform doesn't like code. Yes, we do. You already can extend the platform with code, with traditional code, and now you have even more possibilities, okay? So that's a spoiler. We will talk more about it in the end of the session, because now we will start with Fusion development first, right? So I would like to start with some definitions, set some context. So what low code means? What is low code? So what is the point of low code? We want to minimize the amount of handwritten code required to build applications. So we use components and pre-built templates to accelerate development, right? So that's what low code does, actually. There is another thing that does the same, which is frameworks. We have frameworks to avoid to type everything, right? Code frameworks, I'm talking. So my point is low code real software development? The answer is yes, is real software development. You are building applications, right? So for our context, what is code? What is the purpose of code? Basically, code gives you a precise instruction about what the computer should follow, but not only the computer, the people. The code is more for people, really, right? So the written code humans can read, Copilot also can read, understand, and maintain it. That's why we use programming languages. That's why we don't do everything with binary or assembly. So again, that's the point. Power Platform, yes, there is code underneath, and that's what we do in the session today. We will have a look under the hood. We will see what we do with the code, how we manage this code, because Fusion development is about enabling everyone to build application. Technology should not be a limit. We have lots of business people. They are very smart, and they have real problems they need to solve. Let's enable these folks to build it the right way. They don't need to learn code for that, and they don't need to learn Git. But we, as developers, we do understand the value of code. We understand why we source control everything, so we want them to use Git. We want them to use everything without the overhead. So I would like to check the room here. I would like to see a hands. Please, are you a software developer? Do you program? Can you raise your hand? Good, we have some developers here. Now, are you a low-code developer? Do you create drag and drop? Do you use Power Platform, but no code at all? OK, we have some, which is great. And also, I want to check, do we have anybody who never built anything for Power Platform and is here to learn and understand? OK, have a good mix of people. Hopefully this session will be for all of you. We will have Q&A on the end as well, hopefully, if everything goes well. So let's keep going. So today in the session, as Casey said, is very demo heavy. We will build a solution, and in this solution, we will peek under the hood to see how code is. So the best way to build is really to start with the plan. That's what we will do. We will show the plan, how we will build a Contoso real estate solution. That's the name of our solution. Some of you might be familiar. We will give the link to the repo if you want to play with it as well in the end. And we will build intelligent applications, right? And then we will show how you manage this platform. How can you scale? And another spoiler alert, we will talk about Pack CLI again. So yes, stay with me. Let's jump to the demo right now, OK? And let's praise to the demo gods. I will change to my computer. OK. This is the Maker portal. This is how makers will create solutions, but pro developers as well can make good use of it. And this is our plan. I already created the plan. If you want to learn more about plan, there is a session. Check for Clay and Mark's session and Matt as well. It was a very good session. I will open my plan here, and we will use that to highlight some of new features that we did. And again, we are peek under the hood to see the code. So this is my plan. What I ask for Copilot or for the plan, it is, hey, help me to build a real estate solution. I want to manage properties. I want to see proper details, including pictures, price list, and I want to have a secure website and also an app for the field people to take pictures of the properties. That's the solution that I am building here. This is the document view. I have a team of edge agents that help me to build this plan here, but I am in control. Okay? I already changed this plan to do what I want to show today. Let's go with the visual so we will explore a little bit what we will see. So again, this is my business scenario. This is my problem. And let me just go a little bit here. OK. And for this, we will have three main personas. We will have property manager. Basically, this is the people in the office. They are adding properties to listing the website. They are doing back office work. And we have an application here which is really designed to be good on desktop. So I will work my computer. I will be able to see the properties. That's the application that the plan suggested to me, and I already created this solution. Another thing that the plan suggested for me is an application for the real estate agents, the field people, to take pictures and see the properties on the go, on the phone. And this is proposed. This is a new solution that I can go ahead and create. And also suggested a website, and I already created a website. We will explore these two items here now, starting with the Canvas app. So the Canvas app is proposed, right? So one of the new features in the plan, it is I can use existing application. Remember when I said there is always a source code, there's always a code behind? For Maker context, the source code is the solution. And I can see this in the plan as well. If I go to this objects list here, I will have the opportunity to see the source code, the representation of all my solution, all what I built. So I can see my Contoso Real Estate app is here. That's the back office app. I will unselect that to show you that I already have another Canvas app that I created before. Actually, this is how it started. I want to use this app in the plan, and now you can. Let's go back to this view, and I will go and click Replace to select that app. Here, I will select the Contoso Real Estate app, and now I have my Canvas app, and I can go ahead and edit and start to create. I already preloaded here for the demo. This is my application. This is how makers create apps. They will drag and drop controls. They can add a little bit of code if needed. But even if they are not using code, there is always code behind, right? So for example, when I add a button here, I can copy and paste. Actually, I'm working with this code here. It's just a little YAML. And what is beauty of it is the maker doesn't need to understand. He can still benefit of it. As a pro developer, I already created a template. This is some screens. I can use different screens to scaffold to start new applications. And now what I will do is I will paste that YAML code here. And what this will do, it will create multiple screens in one go. And this can help makers to share things, like they can send code snippets over Teams. And again, they don't need to understand code, but they can still benefit of the code. All right, let's say here I'm done. I created a couple of screens. I can also check some code snippets that people were sharing. It's pretty cool. Once I'm done, I will save my app, and I will publish my app. This is really important. For me, to be able to commit, I need to publish my app, because in the branch, I have what is published to everyone, right? So, OK, once I publish my app, I will go back to my plan, and I will also save my plan, because I want to see the source code of it. I want to see what happened. Let's give it a time to save. In the meantime, I will go back here. I don't need this anymore. OK, this is saved. I will go back to the solution view. Remember, the solution is the source code. I'm using this solution Contoso Real Estate. And I want to show the source code. So we have this in-portal experience for Maker to see the source code. Actually, they don't see the source code, but they are able to commit. They don't need to see the source code if they don't want to. So here you can see the list of the artifacts that I change. And I can see my Canvas app here, and also some things on the plan. I can go ahead and commit. So as a maker, I can say, yep, update the plan. And then I will commit. And what this will do, it will go to my repo. And once I'm done here, you will see more about this repo. Grant will test all this code that we are adding here. He will focus a little bit more on the AI part. And Prabhat and Casey will show how you deploy that, how you work with this code. Because once we have a branch, you can do amazing stuff. Now that the code is committed, I can either I can see the pull request here if I want. I can open my Azure DevOps repo if I want. But now I will put my pro developer hat. I want to go to vscode.dev. And here I'm already connected to my branch. I will just refresh here so I get the last code, although it was there already, I saw. So this is what it looks like in the source code. Here I have my Canvas app. I will have one YAML file for each screen. Here I can see I added some new screens. And I want to go to my main screen, which is this listing.pa. And another thing that I can do, I can update things here directly. If I spot mistakes, I'm checking PRs, and I want to change something, I can do this as well. So I will do this right now. So I will find here, this is the text on the label of my app. I will update this, saying that I am changing in my VS Code, and I will commit to my branch. Okay? Let me commit this, and that's done. So as a pro developer, I can keep using developer tools. I can go to my branch, and I can use that to monitor. For the maker, I will go back here to my solution, and I can always refresh. This will refresh the changes that I've done in the Maker portal, but I also can check for updates. And what this will do, it will check my branch to see if anybody has changing things, and it will bring the code from that branch, right? And it will tell me exactly what has changed, and I will have the option to pull this code and update my environment with the code that was committed. So, OK, here I can see, yes, I have an update for my Canvas app. I will go ahead and pull this code. And once I pull this code, the changes will be reflected in my app. Okay? And this is super useful because if you want to monitor your Canvas apps, you can check like bad smells, bad patterns. You can do that. You can set up automation on your pipeline. No limits here for your imagination, right? OK. Now that I'm done here, I will just quickly open the app so I can show you that actually it changed and I don't have to do anything. I will open my Canvas app. And while this loads, we will move pretty soon to the pages part. Okay, hopefully this will load. And uncomfortable silence, and yes, there you go. Yeah, so that's great. We can make makers and pro developers to work streamless together, okay? Let's go to the Power Pages part now. Power Pages is one component that we have more pro developer components on it, right? You can edit HTML, CSS, and things like that. Let me change my view here to the Pages part. And here I'm using a different solution for Pages. This is the experience for the maker. The maker can create websites by drag and drop using AI. All the components AI helps a lot. Here I will do just a simple change so you can see what it happens on the source code. So let me just save this. I will just quickly sync. And if I refresh here, I should see the file. So there you go. So this is the new feature that should come in a couple of weeks. Now, Power Pages, you can integrate with Source Control as well, and you will see all the files from your pages. So this makes super simple for me to edit if I want to work directly on the branch. So here I have the branch view. So for example, I changed the name, the header of the website, right? And I will do the same from my repo because I want to cause a conflict. The maker changed in the portal, and I will change in my branch. So here I'll put VS Code. And I will save that, and I will commit. OK, all done. Let's go back to the maker portal. And if I try to commit, I will try to commit without check for update so you can see that it will not allow. And the point here it is the maker is protected. He doesn't need to know, like, oh, do I need to pull? Do I need to update my code? Do I need to check the... He doesn't need to do anything. He just can keep working. And when he tries to commit, this will be checked. And here is saying, hey, there is a conflict here. So we don't show the code. We don't want to show the code for the maker yet. If you think it's important, let us know. But we don't show the code yet. What the options that you have, or you keep current changes. Basically, you are saying, OK, I will ignore what is happening in the branch, and I will keep the changes of my environment. I want to commit to those. Or I can say, no, I actually want to get the changes that happen in the commit, right? And you as a pro developer or admin, you can put rules on your branch. You can protect that. You have full control of your branch. And you will know better than maker how to do that. So here I will accept incoming changes. And there we go. That's what I wanted to show. OK? Let me go back here to the plan, and we will quickly review what we have done. So basically, we saw that makers and everybody actually start with a plan. So you have choices. You can create multiple technologies, but there is always code underneath, right? This code, is represented as solutions. That's how we work with the solutions. That's what we can commit. And now that we have that, we can go ahead and test, and we can deploy as well. And to explore the test capabilities, I will call Grant, so he will explore how we can test that.
Thanks, Marcel. Okay, we're just going to jump in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a dive a little bit deeper now and say, OK, Marcel just showed a set of different applications and different components as part of this Contoso real estate application. And we say, how do we do automated testing of this? It's something, if you kind of think of it from a pro code first point of view, very familiar. You want to go create your app. You want to create unit tests, integration tests. You want to make sure that you've got multiple components there, validated that they're working, and they continue to work over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step through the application, have a look at how the application's made up, show you some of the pieces there, and then have a look at what are some of the choices that we've got and how we might be able to use generative AI to go help us with the automation tests that we need as we go through this process. So generally what we see, if we look at this room here, we've got a large group of people here across a different range of people. At the top of the stack, there's people that may say, I just want to engage using natural language. So I may want to use a GitHub Copilot, or I may want to use different ways or different agents to go interact with that. As you kind of go down, we've got these kind of lower levels of abstraction. So one of the common abstractions we've got is a language in the Power Platform called PowerFX. And PowerFX is a great leveler for us because it gives us the ability to abstract a lot of complexity when it comes for testing. At the lowest level, if you want to, you can drop down to C#. For our web-based tests where we're doing Canvas applications and model-driven applications, we abstract Playwright as part of that process. So really it's up to you to decide what level of elevation do you want as you run through this. And what we're doing this week, we're announcing the Power Platform, the Power Apps test engine. And this is now in public preview. You can go to Acrome's test engine, and it will go through, and you can look at information around testing. And the key features of test engine is basically you can choose your level of elevation. If you want to start with natural language using something like an MCP server, and it's what I'm going to show in a moment in terms of how you do that, that's one way you can engage with it. We've got this kind of built-in provider model. So one of the things that we've done around our testing is we've built an extensibility model where you can go test different parts of the Power Platform, whether or not you're testing an application or testing your database components. And over time, we're looking adding at Microsoft Copilot Studio and the automation flows that make up part of this. And the key part of this really is using PowerFX as that abstraction layer to enable you to work at the right level of information for you. And the other thing this PowerFX really does is it makes it really easy when doing generative AI. PowerFX is a really simple language like Excel. And when we're using natural language and using generative AI, it's much easier for us to go create PowerFX and validate the PowerFX is doing what expected. And finally, it really kind of looks at kind of abstracting complexity. You don't have to go down to the document object model and look at selectors. You can stay at a higher level where we go look at all the controls that are on your screen, and we enable you to extract that as part of your test. And finally, we'll kind of, as we hand over to Casey later, he'll come back and show how all these things kind of fit in your overall pipeline. So you can go from dev to test to production, and you can create gated builds as part of that process. Okay, so let's go through here. So what we're going to go through is this demo here. You can't see that screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through a demo application where we're going to show how does this application work. We're going to start with the model-driven application. We're going to show some of the JavaScript that's behind this application. And at the end of this, we've got an AI builder model that is taking information around these properties, and we're going to show how you're going to go test that. So let's jump across, and we'll go have a look at how we do this. So this is the back-end support view. So this is where I've got all these list of properties as part of Contoso Real Estate. And I'm going to open up one of these properties. And this property, it's got information around what are the features of this particular property. I may want to have it has a pool or a garden. And I want to say, as the person that's doing this listing, I want to work out what's the information that I might want to be going putting around this listing. And I've got this command button up the top here, which does an AI summary. So what this AI summary is doing is this summary has just gone off to a GPT-4 model. It's taken the information off this current record, and it's converting the information off that, and it's just putting this dialogue here that it could go present to the user. So what I want to do is just step through this process, say, okay, I've got these multiple components here. How do I go test this scenario? I've got an app. I've got some JavaScript. So if I go to the next screen, so behind that, we had this code here where I could say that command button I had where I had AI summary, I can take a bit of JavaScript, I can paste it in here, and that will do the glue between when I hit that button and when I call that generative AI. So that's kind of another level of code that we've got inside this. And if I jump one level down, I can go open up a generative, so this is an AI builder prompt. And in this prompt, we're saying, I want to go create a useful, concise summary of highlighting the features of this property. And that value came through from the information that was on that application. And then if I look at this, and I think from a testing point of view, there's a couple of variables I've got here. I could go choose the version of my model. What happens if I change my model over time? Do I pick a GPT-4 Mini? Do I go for a standard 4.0? What if other models turn up in the future? How do I make sure that this generative AI, non-deterministic response, continues to work as expected. So that's one of the scenarios I really want to look at. It's probably the most complicated part of my solution, and it's the thing that's probably going to be the most variable, because this is an admin screen going to a relatively simple bit of JavaScript, but I've got this non-deterministic bit of generative AI at the bottom of it. And maybe that might create me some uncertainty, like what happens if I've got happy path examples? What if I have edge case examples? What if I have exceptions? How do I validate that what the model gives me is what I expected? So if I run the test of this, this is the kind of response this model is going to give me back. And I'll zoom into that. So basically, it has given me some markdown. And so my markdown is just taken those key facts that I had around a property, and it's going to return it as markdown. And my JavaScript is going to convert that markdown to something that's visible as a modal dialog into my screen. And my challenge that I want to look at here is go, okay, how do I test this application? I go, what happens if I send different types of information? What if I send no data to the model? What happens if I send long amounts of data? Testers love coming up with different kind of combinations of how to go try break the application, and it's no different when we look at AI. So what we want to do is we're going to go take this, and I'm going to show how do we go drop down, and we're going to open up Visual Studio Code. And inside Visual Studio Code, what I've done is I've cloned the same repository that Marcel just showed a few minutes ago. And I've opened up this solution, and I've got in here, I've got a GitHub Copilot. And if I go down the bottom of this, I've got an MCP server registered for Test Engine. So this is just using standard I/O on my local machine here. So there's nothing magical here. This is the process that's registered on my machine. And because it's logged on as me, I have access to the information around the solution, and it can start doing some things on behalf for me as part of this testing process. So some of the things it can do is say, I want to get a list of things that you can go test. What templates have you got available that helps me go test that solution that I'm just building? And then from those templates, how can it give me prompts that will help me go build out the tests around this solution? So if I go, okay, I did that first one here, and it says, I've got these available templates. I can do things around AI Builder. I've got a template around that JavaScript web service, so maybe I might want to come back to that later on and use that JavaScript template to test that bit of JavaScript I had behind that button. I've got some other templates there for my model-driven application. So for that back-end administration application, I've got a template for that. But the thing I really want to focus on is the AI. So I want to go have a look at how would I test that AI. So I'm going to say, create, so I'm going to use the AI Builder query to get information on my AI Builder. And the thing I like about this is, it's going to pass to GitHub Copilot. We're picking a particular model that is, I'm going to zoom into this, where it's saying, okay, I'm going to go get the template for the AI Builder query, and it's going to give me back some prompts that's going to help me through that process. And because I was in a solution, it says, okay, I know the solution you're in. I'm going to start generating a series of steps to go help you through this process. And I'm using the Sonnet model here, and it takes some time to kind of reason through this process. But what it's going to do is say, okay, I'm going to help you create a bit of PowerShell that's going to help me go back to that environment, get the definition of that AI model, bring it down, and start saying, how would I start building some test cases around that scenario? So what I've done is I'm going to go across to the completed version of that and say, what does that look like? And what did it do for me? And I'm going to zoom into here. So the first thing it did is it created me a test folder. And that test folder straight away gave me some structure. Under this test folder, we've got some tests here for an AI model. We've got other tests in that folder that could be for the other parts of my solution, the JavaScript, my model-driven application. It created me a set of folders here for different scenarios, for my edge cases, my exceptions, my happy path. Because not everyone thinks like a tester, and a lot of people just think about what's the normal case of how you work. And it automatically can go help you with the process of generating edge cases. It can help me with what's the configuration, what's the PowerShell that I need to go set this up. It can even give me an example prompt of what can I use to go validate that first AI prompt. I'm going to get another AI prompt to go test the first one to make sure the non-deterministic output of the first one can now be interpreted to say how good is the result of that first test. And at the end of it, it would also go out and it'll go create a set of a README explaining everything it just did. So that first model, as it went through, it explains that, okay, to get this going, these are the SDKs that you're going to need to go run this on your machine. I've created these sort of happy path exception cases for me, and here's the configuration to get going. And I've kind of run through that process, but let's go run this up and let's say, okay, I want to see what does the end result of this look like. So this is just PowerShell. It's using my authentication on my local machine, and it's going to go look at the test case. In a moment, we'll show what these test cases look like, but I wanted to start with the end and say, what does the end result of this look like? Because as I hand off to Casey, he's going to pick up the same process, and he should be able to run, eventually you could take the same process, commit this to Git, and it could be run as part of a DevOps pipeline to go run this from an end-to-end process. So this is going through the 3 different cases that automatically generated. It's looking at my happy paths examples, it's looking at my edge cases, it's looking at my exceptions. And at the end of this, it should just bring up a report telling me how well did those tests work? Is it working? What we'll do after that is we'll drill into them and say, what did the generative AI just go build for us as part of this process? So while it's doing that, let's go drill into one of them. So if we go to Happy Path, okay, so the first one it's got is, so this is just YAML. So this YAML's got some PowerFX functions. So PowerFX is a really simple language, which makes it really good for testing because it keeps it simple. You've got things like parameterization. And this one here was saying a happy path is you describe the property really, really well, and you give it some really good descriptive information. And when you do that, you get a rating of 5. That's what we want. We want to have a good rating because it's a really descriptive property. And so we kind of test those scenarios. And then we go look at our exceptions and say, well, what happens if we do some edge cases? So this was generated by the AI where it said, okay, what happens if we send it no information? So that should be a rating of 1. We expect that if we give it no information, the model shouldn't give us anything back that's useful. We expect that should be a low quality result. What if somebody goes and sends us our friend lorem ipsum? Okay, maybe that's not a great thing. We don't want to make sure we've got filler text going out in part of our listings. And then finally, we could go look at our exceptions. We could say, okay, each one of those give a different rating. So it's gone through, it's created that, and at the end of that now, we've got a summary report like this, where it's showing you, here are those 3 test cases, they all run as expected. And if they don't, I could go back through my normal loop of going green, red, refactor, and make it work. I could drill down into this and say, let's have a look at what all the tests were. These are my 3 different test files. It generates normal kind of test results XML files that I can go update to my build process. I can go look at those things. But at the end of the day, what we've done is we've gone and created a solution where I can go into more, I can go look at the prompt that I created. So if I create this validator prompt, this was the text, the prompt that my generative AI gave me. It said, okay, I'm going to get some questions that come in. I wanted you to generate a rating between 1 and 5, telling me how good this report is. I want you to give me some JSON back out, and here's an example of what a 1 looks like, and here's an example of what a 5 looks like. So you want to give it some normal prompts, and at the end of that, give me back a deterministic rating between 1 and 5. So we can convert our non-deterministic, what's the summary of this property, and because that may change every time we run this model, to something that we can actually go evaluate in our test. So those are the key things really that we've kind of gone. So this was here, we kind of go back to that first one, it would have gone through the process of doing those steps. So hopefully that's given you an idea of some of the things that you can go do in terms of take something that's complicated, non-deterministic, you can run it through a simple process to use another model to evaluate the results, get some deterministic results, and set up a series of tests around happy path, exceptions, and edge cases. And you can apply that same process across the JavaScript or your model-driven applications. We can get you started, so you can go look at, there's a whole lot of samples that we have as part of the repository. So go to our samples in our GitHub repository, and you can see examples of how we create those different types of applications. And the value of having those kind of things is you can see, here's an example of how we go test a model-driven application. It's exactly the same type of process where we have YAML. And in this case here, it's instead of going and dealing with an AI model, the PowerFX is just representing what are the controls on the screen, and I can go validate those controls on the screen. Or if I want to go look at the JavaScript, say I can go generate chess for my different, I can go set up a mock. So this was using the SDK for Dynamics that comes as part of this thing, and I can go mock that interface like you'd expect in a normal JavaScript application. I can apply that mock as part of my JavaScript test. So what I'd say is, use this, and what we do is we use all these samples as a way to go help us build the generative AI. So the call to action, have a look at this, look at testing. Do not think that the Power Platform does not give you a range of testing options. We're trying to make it a lot more accessible and easier for you to go build a range of tests across the different parts of your Power Platform. And it's up for you to just choose the level of elevation that you want. Whether or not you want to stay at natural language, whether or not you want to stay at PowerFX, or if you want to drop down to C# and go build and integrate at that level, it's up to you to decide what level of integration you want. So what I'd like to do is hand over to Casey. And Casey's going to take us back through the overall process of how do we go take this from an ALM point of view to take this from end to end. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Grant. Bear with us for 1 second, just getting set back up in the right way. All right, thank you very much, Grant. Yeah, so Marcel talked a lot about the developer inner loop, and then Grant covered the automated testing in the middle, and Prabhat and I are going to talk a little bit about how that transitions into the outer loop. So we're going to talk about deployment and how you scale that across the organization, and then we're going to get into a little bit of monitoring too. So after you deploy your application to production, how you monitor that and subscribe to alerts, which is a brand new capability that is rolling out. So just to frame this a little bit, though, I wanted to talk about kind of the different types of customers or even individuals within the companies that we work with every day and how they think about scale in different ways. So a lot of times when you're talking to a developer, maybe the dev lead on a project, it's a large project, and they think about how do I scale that project up as I onboard new developers to the team? Maybe I bring in some folks that are specialized in testing, and this is a really mission-critical application that we need to build. And then when you go over to the CIO side of the company or the IT administrative department, they're thinking more about it. How do I not just scale that one single project, but I have hundreds or thousands of projects in my portfolio. And so how do I scale the process across the entire portfolio so that it's going to work for everyone that's building on the platform? And as I do that, how do I do so in a way where I don't have to retool along the way? And that's what Prabhat and I are going to show you, that whether you're dealing with project scale or with portfolio scale, really you have to think about both. We want to show you how the Power Platform, as well as the developer tooling, can help you support both of those. And so kind of to go back to this slide that Marcel showed a little bit ago, as you think about the citizen dev community and your business users that are involved in more of the business requirements side, and they can build out the low-code assets. And then that shifts a little bit more towards the right as you get into your pro developer audience. We want to make sure that they have full access to Git and their standard inner loop processes with check-in, check-out, submitting pull requests, and then ultimately how you can create automated build and release pipelines as part of this, and how IT is comfortable with the security and governance controls that are around it. So Prabhat is going to get us started here with a demo, and he's going to show you, we're going to come back into the Git side of things. He's going to show you an automated build pipeline.
Is it good to go? All right. So as you see here, I have few changes in my Maker portal, and I want to commit this change. 3.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to take you through the Fusion development story, where a pro dev will, how they will change, commit the change, and then a automated deployment pipeline will trigger, which will do the build, validation, and complete the pipeline work. So let me show you here the change that I have. I want to commit it quickly. So let's see. I have some agents here in this application, as well as environment variable. So I'm planning to update them. So let me complete the change. And at this time, what's happening, it's taking native Dataverse format, which is XML, and putting that into the YAML format into the source control. And as you see here, my change list is available here. But before that, let me show you the Git connections here. This is connected to a folder in my personal development environment. So let me click here the change list, and you will see a very simple YAML format, which is human readable, easy to merge, and you can figure out what's happening here. There is a version change, and there is some update over here. So I'm happy with the change. So let me complete the pull request here, and that will trigger the deployment pipeline. So here I'll create the pull request, and I'll approve it. Although in the real world you won't be self-approving your own PR. So I have this completed, and as you see here, this is like my personal development branch. It's getting merged to the main, and yeah, merge is completed. And the moment this merge complete, there would be automated deployment pipeline that will trigger. And as you see here, my pipeline has started, and it's going to take some time. So meanwhile, let me do one thing. There is a prior completed job, and with that, I'll show you what's happening behind the scene. So this fully automated pipeline is checking out a VM, getting the pack CLI command, which is the ProDev, the tooling that we have in the Power Platform. It's a pre-release version. It's going to be made available pretty soon. And it has a smartness and knowledge to compact YAML things that you see in the source code into the native Power Platform format and create a solution. So as you see here, after that build is complete, a solution is available that can be imported. So here is the import process that happened. As you see, it gets imported in a validation environment. This is my validation environment. And then it's published successfully as well. This makes sure that everything that got checked in automatically gets built and gets deployed, and everything is ready forward. As you see here, this process is going on. It will take 2-3 minutes to complete, and eventually these bits would be available in a validation environment. So now Casey will take you through the journey of a citizen developer and how the same DevOps can be done in a very simple way using just the UI part. So Casey, over to you.
Thanks, Prabhat. And Prabhat is the engineering manager for my team, and so we're stoked to have him. He's the only one that we allow to approve their own PRs, but he's the manager, so it's all right. Okay, I'm gonna switch out of this VM, go back to my account quickly. Okay, so what Prabhat just showed you is brand new, and it's going to be coming out. So it's our new native source code format that is in YAML, and we're adding support for the existing developer tools so that you can go ahead and build and release through an automated fashion using Azure DevOps and GitHub in the future. What I'm going to show you is how you can tie those two worlds together. So obviously, you could still release to production through your Azure pipeline and tie that off of your PR process. What I do recommend, though, is that you want to validate that. So if you're taking a source-centric approach, you want to build from source control. It's always good to validate that in an environment just to make sure that nothing got malformed as part of that process. And so what he did is he imported it into this development or this validation environment. I'm going to show you how you can kind of bridge these two gaps. And so if you did want to use that environment now and kick off our native pipelines in Power Platform, you can go ahead and do that. So right here within this environment, you can see it's the exact same solution, the Contoso real estate that everyone has been working on this entire time. And this is the very simple path. And we have a lot of safeguards built in for the citizen dev community, but even a lot of our pro dev audience prefers this route too, just for the simplicity and for the scale aspect. So for example, this same pipeline, I can go to any environment I have access to and run that exact same pipeline. I don't have to reconfigure anything. And so for admins, it's more of a set it and forget it type thing as well. What it's doing right now is basically pre-validating everything against the target environment. It's generating AI-generated release notes about everything that's in the solution. So it gives the approver kind of that final context as far as giving them everything at their fingertips to be able to approve the deployment. So now within the new deployment hub in the Power Platform Admin Center, as an admin, you can come in and see all the pending requests that are pending approval. And so you can open up, this was, I think the other one might take a minute to come through. So this was a prior submission here. You have a link to source control to go over and view the PR that was submitted. You see these AI-generated release notes and also the test report that Grant had built out there. And so you have everything here at your fingertips to make a quick decision on approve or reject. You can add comments in, they'll go back to the development team to get those addressed. And we've also added several other new capabilities within the deployment hub. So for example, we don't like to see failed deployments, but it does happen, right? And so now what you can do as an admin or those delegated as admins within your organization, it's easy to come in, troubleshoot the deployment, and you can retry the failed deployment. Okay, makers can do that as well within their experience if it's something that is retryable on their end. And so what do we want to do after we deploy the app? We want to monitor it in production, right? So let's assume we kick that off again to the production environment. And the monitoring page now within PPAC, and again, we have these experiences both at a higher altitude in the admin center, and then at a lower altitude for the maker within the Power Apps or Copilot Studio, Power Automate, and Pages portals, okay? So a new functionality that's coming out is the ability to subscribe to alerts. So we have multiple different metrics now that are available. And you can see that, for example, it's triggered an alert over here. So you might have saw throughout the rest of the conference, we did some awesome Heineken demos. And so we had this set up for those. And so if you want to drill in, you can see the app open success rate. And it triggered that alert because it dropped down below the specified threshold that I configured in the alert. You can also see the different session count. And it looks like right around that same time frame when we started to get degraded performance, actually a lot of the users started dropping off too. So it's definitely something that we want to look at. Time to interact. So this is kind of a dwell time metric, which is super important. This is an AI-focused metric. And so as you're building out different agents that are embedded within your app, it's looking at how long did people actually spend interacting with that agent. It gives you a good sense of how you can start improving your AI first experiences going forward. And so just to take a quick look at that too, as far as how I can subscribe to these. So you have a bunch of different parameters that you can plug in here, as well as the recipients of those alerts. And so if I wanted to add other team members to this to subscribe, it's very simple to do. And then you'll get those alerts directly in your inbox anytime your app drops below a specified threshold. Okay. I'm going to make that short and sweet because Marcel has some exciting stuff to show, so I'm going to hand it back to him, and then hopefully we'll get a few minutes for Q&A, but we'll see.
Thank you, Casey. We are good on time, which is great. All right. So now it's time to talk about what is next for pro developers, what is coming, where the platform is going. And you will help us to shape the future, right? So that's why I like Build. We get to share. Let's jump to my machine to see this in action. Let me just set up here the right environment. And OK, we will go back to code. You should be seeing my screen. This is a very simple Hello World application. I'm not a front-end developer, but I managed to create this with the help of Copilot. Okay? I just use standard build tools. I'm using Vite. You can use anything you want. But again, I did this, and I am running on my local machine, but I can get access to all the goodness of Power Platform. So let's see how this is done. So we did that through PackCLI. We have a new command called packcode. Okay? So what packcode does, you have init. And when you do packcode init, we will tell, hey, I will create a new code app. I want to bring my own code to run on Power Platform. I'm using PackCLI. It means I am already authenticated. So I have a context of an environment. It's very secure. I already did that. I already did a packcode init. Now to run the application in my local environment, I need to do packcode run. I incorporate that on my scripts. So if I do a npm run dev, that will start my local server, and it will also start connect to Power Platform. So I will get this URL here, and if I open, okay. So this is the app. The app is running my local machine. This is a very simple hello world, right? But now I want to use all the goodness of platform. I want to use the connectivity of the platform. And as you know, we have some out-of-box connectors, which I can connect virtually to any service in the world, or I can create my custom connectors as well. What I will do is I will add a new connection. I want to connect to my Office 365 account. I want to retrieve information about my Office account. So I'll go ahead and create. Let me just authenticate. OK, so I have a new connector here, a new connection, sorry, for Office 365. Let's go back to PackCLI. What do I do now? In PackCLI, we have a command, packConnectionList. This will list the connections of my environment. Each connection has an ID, right? I can use this to learn more about this connection. This is exactly what I will do. I will get my connection ID here. The format is not nice here in this screen, but it's basically the ID of my Office 365 connection. And let's leverage Copilot. Why not? So I will ask Copilot, add Office 365 to my app, and my connection ID is, I will send my connection ID. And let's see what this will do. Perfect. It figured the command that we have to do that. We have the command packcode add data source. I will go ahead and continue, and this will run on my terminal, packcode add data source, passing what is the connection type and also my connection ID. And now the Office 365 was added to my app. But what does it mean? Let's have a look underneath. I will go here to see what I have in my repo. I have two new files. I have this Office 365, which describe the service. This, I will understand what actions can I do with this connector. And I also have a new model, which will bring some sanity, some types for me. I love types. So with this, I can build my application. I can understand what I have with the connection and what I can do with my app. So let's do that. I will go back to my app. OK. And then I will ask Copilot, hey, Copilot, add a new control. I want to get my username. I want to get job title. And I also want to get the picture and the email for my user. Copilot will, with these models, with these types, it will figure how to use it, and it will update my code to add these controls. Right? OK. Perfect. A new control has been added. I will keep this. And as I am running, let's see what it looks like. Oops, it's not. This is the one. I will go back here to my app. You can see I am already get a consent information. So it means it's going through Power Platform. I want to use my Office 365 connector. I will allow. And is retrieving the information from my connection, right? So with this, I can create any front end. You can use any package. You can use any design system you want, and you can consume all the benefit of Power Platform. And for each new user, you will get this consent. It means it goes through the platform. So you as admin, you are in control. That's really where we are going, giving control to pro developers, right? Let's keep exploring a little bit this. Let me go back here. Now I want to deploy because it's running my local machine. So I want to build this. So I will use, I don't want to edit my app TSX. I want to use npm run build. This will generate my production, my transpile or compiled version of my web app. And let me show you another thing. Let me show you now let's go ahead and do it. Let's just push this to production. Pack code push. Yep. And this app will be deployed. And then it should be good for everyone to use. Forgot to close my mail. All right. Let me go back here. And here it is, my app running Power Platform. And again, I will get the consent the first time this is a new connection. So I can delete the connection. If I run, I will get the consent again, right? So this is what is coming. This is what we are bringing. And also, we already did some work, and we enable this in Plan Designer. So if you get access to this, this is a early access program. I can add my code apps to Plan Designer as well, right? Not only to Plan Designer, but I want to show you another thing, which is in the phone. So this code app also, we support a runtime for that. So this is the Heineken app that we show on the beginning of the week. You can run code apps in your phone as well, right? That works. So that's what I had to share. How do you get your hands on it? Yes, sorry. This code app that I show, that's for internal apps, is leverage the connections and everything for Power Platform. If you want to create external apps, you can as well. You can bring your own code. We are adding a new command to Pack CLI, Pack Pages Upload Code Site. With this, you can upload your React app and run external secure websites the same way I just showed. The difference it is, if you are using the Power Pages infrastructure, you use the same way to get the data. Basically, you use virtual entities, but that's another subject. But we have the capacity as well, okay? So if you want to have a look on the Power Pages bring your own code capability, that's public preview. If you want to have a look on the internal apps and Power Apps running on Power Platform with your own code, please sign up for the preview. We will have a preview because we want to be sure we are building things the way the experience is good for you to use to leverage the power of Power Platform. The inner loop experience is really important for us. So please sign up for this program, give your feedback, help us to shape the future. Let us know if this is something you are interested. We want to give control, and yes, Power Platform loves code, okay? I want to give a big shout out for all the engineering team. We have so many teams working on that. So thank you everyone for making this demo possible and for delivering the feature. And please bring the feedback for us. I don't think we'll have time for questions, but please feel free to talk to us here or also in the booth. So thank you all.